So I joined the Marine Corps 2 weeks after I graduated high school. Yep. So my whole senior year, actually, I'd already committed, signed my paperwork. Like I knew I was leaving, right? My graduation party was 5 days before I shipped off, right? And I was stoked. It was great. It was awesome. Probably the best thing for me too, because then I couldn't get in trouble summer after high school, right? And that's always what they told you. They said the sooner you leave, the better, right? Because if not, you're done with high school, you're going to do something dumb and mess up. So I left 2 weeks after I graduated. So I came back though, and it was like the first time I'd done something as an adult.
Of course.
Yeah, right. It was huge. It was like this monumental, just the biggest accomplishment I'd ever done. Right.
You come back a fucking Marine.
No, there you go. Exactly. Yeah. And I was like, how, and like you just the few, the proud, the Marines, right? The commercials, like all of it, dude. You're just stoked and everything about it.
You're ripped. I
thought, I look back now and I'm like, damn, I was still kind of scrawny and dweeby, but 19, right? So, no, dude, so I came back. And you're back for 10 days before you go off to more training. And so that 10 days, you see your girlfriend and all your friends, and like you're wearing your dress blues, right?
Yeah,
you're wearing your uniform every day, dude, right? And just being that guy. But again, you're 19, and so it's like, it's awesome. And so I had this idea in my mind. I'd been thinking about this, right? Because in boot camp, you don't get phones, right? You only write letters, all this kind of stuff. So you had a lot of time to think to yourself, which is what's so great about that too. The training and the discipline and all that, but even just processing your thoughts is amazing. And so in that, I decided, all right, I'm going to go find my mom.
Welcome to The Profitable Cleaner, a podcast on commercial cleaning sales and entrepreneurship.
Michael Gabriel, how's it going, brother?
Yes, sir. We're good, man. Yeah, thanks for having me here. It's been a long time coming, I think.
It has, man. Funny how we know each other. It's like, I feel like life has put these different aspects of our backgrounds together to kind of meet. So obviously, my wife's family very well. But then your professional world kind of blends into my world. There's been some synergies in business. I have really good mutual friends that went to high school with your wife. Yep. Just a lot of connections. And then like one of my good friends in real estate was at your original brokerage. Like there's all these like coincidences, maybe not coincidences, of Michael Gabriel showing up in my life. And I remember we sat for breakfast, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe now?
I was actually we were talking about that. I think it was actually closer to like 4.
Was it?
Yeah.
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 And I got to learn a lot about who you are as a man and as a person, which really, I think, shapes what you do as a professional. So let's just start there. Who is Michael Gabriel?
God, I hate that question. You never know how to answer it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know where I start. But right now I'm a dad, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm a new dad to my own, but I'm a stepdad. I have been a stepdad for a long time now, which has been pretty cool.
Yeah.
Adoptive dad as well. So that's, and then a husband.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the thing that defines me most days right now. But then, real estate professional as well. So a lot of different hats.
Former Marine,
yes. Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Yeah.
For any listeners out there.
Yeah.
No, that's still a big formidable piece of who I am. Right?
Yeah.
My core and my foundation, and the kids definitely know that for sure.
Yeah. Well, actually, so let's start there. Give us some background. Where'd you grow up? Mm-hmm. What was that like? Because I want to get into like kind of what inspired you to join the Marine Corps and go from there. But talk to us about the early days, man.
Yeah. That's how we really truly do know each other. I mean, born and raised in Inglewood, Colorado, which is great.
Yeah.
Been here my whole life, outside of my travels with the Marine Corps. So yeah, I mean, I was born in Boulder, actually, which is kind of what my birth certificate says. Don't ever remember truly living there as a kid, but then grew up with my mom for the first years of my life until I was 2 in Denver, and I went through the foster care system when my sister was born. Was kind of given into that world, which is definitely kind of the start of my story for sure, and my testimony. So then I was adopted when I was 6. And then I lived, born and raised in Inglewood, which is amazing. And that's how I got to know, your family over the course of the years. And my adoptive dad, who I call dad, he was in the Army for 21 years. So just kind of growing up around that world, he'd gotten out by the time that they had me. But that was a foundational element for who kind of built me into going that route
Sure.
in the Marines. I did the Marines actually kind of despite him, right? Just because he was in the Army and it was like, all right, the Marine Corps. But one of my best friends actually joined the Marine Corps a few years before I did too. So that was an inspiring piece.
Let's talk about that. So you were with your mom until you were 2, your biological,
My biological mom.
your
Yep, till I was
biological
2.
mother.
Yep.
Do you remember the foster care system? I mean, because being adopted at 6,
Yeah.
that's like, I don't know, but that seems like old to be adopted.
It's funny because I was literally having this conversation the other day with, one of our neighbors. She's a psychiatrist, right? And so, of course, so we're sitting over dinner and she's like, asking me all these questions. And I'm like, why am I spilling my life to you? But no, it in technicality, yes, it is. Now, do I feel like it was old? No, because you really don't remember a ton of that. I've got vague memories. And when I was actually in high school, I found this like huge binder of stuff that my mom had that kind of like walked through like what all that looked like. It was like letters and notes and stuff from
you?
No, it was like from my biological mom, like to my foster mom.
Okay.
Right. Or it was like from my foster mom, who I call mom now, right? She is my mom, to like the foster care service. Right.
Okay.
And just like reports and
Yeah.
doctor's analysis and all sorts of stuff. Right. It was really weird. And I remember it like threw me for a fit. Right. I was pissed and mad because I'd never seen this stuff before I couldn't.
But you knew you were adopted.
I did, yes, of course. Like that was, I was old enough to know that. I still remember, when I was 6, like showing up to first grade with a new last name. Right? I was Michael Woodman at first, and then when I was adopted, my last name changed to Gabriel.
Really?
And so my first grade teacher, Miss Westfall, we had like a big celebration, and I wore like a crown for the day, and it was cool. She made it a thing. So that's definitely one of my most memorable, and I've got tons of pictures of it and all that. But that was kind of that like culminating like change where I became Michael Gabriel.
Wow.
So yeah.
Do you remember like the first day meeting your now parents?
So I've got photos, and so again, I don't really like remember it, but I do. Katie and I, my wife, we were talking about this the other day. I remember immediately latching on to her, right? My foster mom, adoptive mom, but again, my mom, and sitting on her lap, right? Like for whatever reason, like that was super comfortable. I just remember sitting on her lap, and she would always like, do the little the leg, and I do that to my daughter now too. And yeah, it was crazy because I was between the ages of like, I think it was like 3, 4-ish when I went to them. And it's like my daughter's she's like almost 2.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, like you're almost to the point where like I was when I made that transition. So it's been a really interesting, like just kind of thought in my mind. Yeah, I really genuinely don't.
Can I ask what kind of caused your biological mom to put you into the foster system?
Yeah, so I actually have a biological sister who's 2 years younger than me. So when she was born in the hospital, my biological mom went crazy, right? She was, in labor and yelling and screaming, and allegedly she threatened to kill me in the hospital. And so obviously the doctors and the nurses are seeing all this. She had some mental illness issues. I don't know exactly to like what capacity, but that was apparently a huge trigger. Pregnancy can set that off in individuals as well. And so between that, sure, some substance abuse pills, all that kind of stuff. The doctors were like, hey, like she's not fit to be a mom. So when my sister was born and when I was 2, they took us both after they had my sister and put us in a foster care.
Do you have any idea what happened to your biological sister?
Yeah, so I still have contact with her.
Really?
Yeah, no, so we have different dads, same mom, which was interesting. So then when I was 6 and I was adopted, so if you fast forward that story, what a lot of people don't understand is foster care and adoption are very different.
Totally. Foster
care is for rehabilitation. So if the parents still want to be able to be mom and dad, you go through foster care, right? And the parents have like a redevelopment plan or whatever to get their kids back.
Yeah.
So that was the goal. So I actually saw my mom between the ages of 2 and 6 every week or every other week. My sister.
Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah. There's some memories there for sure.
Yeah.
Like one of my most vivid memories is I was like sitting on my bike that she got me for like my 5th birthday, and I was like angled on a hill and I was like pedaling so I wouldn't move, but like my tire would spin.
Sure.
And I just remember sitting there like, and and the reason that's such an important memory is there was a pizza place off in the corner down the street from our house. And I actually found that pizza place like 15 years later. And that's how I rekindled, and I'll get to that part, but that's how I found my mom when I was older, was because I remember that pizza place. Yeah, which is good because it's on Colfax and Clayton, downtown Denver, if you know where that's at. So I've got some memories from that, but in that foster kind of rehabilitation process, parents don't always make it. And so my mom, when we were supposed to go back, so then this is where, like, when I found those documents and all that paperwork, I got so pissed because I didn't know why until that point I didn't go back to my mom, right? I just thought I was adopted. And I'm reading this paperwork. And essentially what it was that my mom didn't show up the day they were supposed to go back. So my sister, me, we were ready to go back. My foster mom took me to, social services, like, all right, like that was supposed to be the last time they saw me. And mom didn't show up.
What a whirlwind for everyone.
No, yeah, exactly. Right. But again, I'm 5. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
But for your now mom, what a whirlwind.
And just like they're just, I get so emotional talking about, like, they're incredible. They just, again, I wasn't in their shoes at that point, so I don't know how they felt. I'm sure it was a whirlwind. And as a dad now, I am like, gosh, this is hard.
Yeah.
But no, handled it in stride. She was just such a loving, caring, nurturing.
What's her name?
Kathy.
Kathy, and what's your dad's name?
So my adopted dad, Dana.
Dana.
Right, which is funny because I didn't. So, I go back to, like, immediately latched onto my mom. I was called her mom.
Yeah.
Never, even though I knew my mom, I never didn't call my foster mom. She was mom from day one, which is weird. My dad, though, I called him Dana until I was 19. Which is weird, right? Because I never met my dad. So you'd think psychologically, oh, you never had a dad, you would call dad, right? Adoptive dad, but not mom. But I didn't. That was really interesting.
What changed at 19?
The Marine Corps.
The Marine.
Coming back, yeah. And just being like, God, what a, like, he's done all this for me. Because he was so patient, so even-keeled, never raised his voice, right? Which sometimes now in hindsight, I'm like, God, I wish he would have yelled at me because I would have been less of a shit.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
What's up, my profitable cleaners? Listen, you guys know that running a cleaning business isn't just about cleaning. It's about growth, trust, building a legacy, and making true impact. That's where Swept comes in. With Swept, it's simple, powerful. It's an app that you can track your cleaner attendance with geofence clock-ins, streamlined processes, team communication, and save hours on payroll. It's the ultimate tool designed specifically for janitorial businesses just like yours. Take control, save time, focus on what matters most, growing your business and spending time with your family. Swept. Clean better, grow faster. If you guys are interested in Swept, click the link below in the show notes and partner with one of the best in the industry.
But no, he was just so even-keeled and so patient. And, like, there was times when I would yell and scream, "You're not my parents. You're not my dad. You're not my mom." Just the worst, and cuss and scream and yell.
Sure.
And, when I'm a teenager, just, when I found those documents, I lost my stuff, dude.
Yeah.
I remember I threw a chair in the living room of the house. Like, just
of course, you're just a rageful adolescent,
dude. So pissed off, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like I've really taken a ton of time to just process all of that and just be grateful for the things that they did, because they're amazing, absolutely amazing, right? Like, didn't skip a beat. Immediately when my mom didn't show up, like, they adopted me not even 9 months later, right? So they didn't even think about it. And then the theory that I have in my head is they're like, oh damn, like, this kid doesn't have anybody now. Like, if we don't, like, who's going to? Because again, they were foster parents. Because I was not their.
Then who?
No, exactly. Well, I was not their first foster kid. They'd had dozens.
Oh,
of
wow.
foster kids. Yeah, and they'd never adopted any of them.
Wow.
Because most of them went back. Again, most of them got rehabilitated in some capacity, right, and went back to their family, and they kept me.
So you said that years later you found your biological mother?
I did, yeah. So fast forward. Gosh, sorry, my tears are still running.
No, you're good.
Fast forward, through high school. So I joined the Marine Corps 2 weeks after I graduated high school. Yeah. So my whole senior year, actually, I'd already committed, signed my paperwork. Like, I knew I was leaving, right? My graduation party was 5 days before I shipped off, right? And I was stoked. It was great. It was awesome. Probably the best thing for me, too, because then I couldn't get in trouble summer after high school, right? And that's always what they told you. They said the sooner you leave, the better, right? Because if not, you're done with high school, you're going to do something dumb and mess up. So I left 2 weeks after I graduated. So I came back, though, and it was like the first time I'd done something as an adult.
Of course.
Yeah, right. It was huge. It was like this
Yeah.
monumental, just the biggest accomplishment I'd ever
Yeah,
done.
you
Right.
come back a fucking Marine.
No, there you go. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, how, and like, dude, just the few, the proud, the Marines, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the commercials, like all of it, dude. You're just stoked and everything about it.
You're
So,
ripped. You're
well,
yeah.
I thought, yeah.
You're-
I look back now and I'm like, damn, I was still kind of scrawny and dweeby, but 19, right? So, no, dude, so I came back. And you're back for 10 days before you go off to more training. And so that 10 days, you see your girlfriend and all your friends, and like you're wearing your dress blues, right?
Yeah,
You're wearing your
of
uniform
course.
every day, dude, right? And just being that guy. But again, you're 19. And so it's like, it's awesome. And so I had this idea in my mind. I'd been thinking about this, right? Because in boot camp, you don't get phones, right? You only write letters, all this kind of stuff. So you had a lot of time to think to yourself, which is what's so great about that too. The training and the discipline, all that, but even just processing your thoughts is amazing. And so in that, I decided, all right, I'm going to go find my mom. And I didn't know what I was going to say. Do I show up and do I say, I don't even know.
I'm your son.
I don't even, yeah, I'm your son. Half of me wanted to say, I did it without you.
Yeah.
Give her the middle finger. The other part of me is like, you're going to break down and just like,
Yeah.
oh, mom, I love you.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was going to say. Right. And I remember I found her in high school. And so when I got my driver's license, I would drive to the house that I remembered sitting in the front with my bike.
She was in Denver.
She was in Denver. Yeah, still in the same place that
Wow.
I was at when I was 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, that pizza place, I recall that pizza place. And I remember when I was like 16, I got my license. I drove around for hours because I was like, I know the street. I know it. If I see the house, I'll remember it. And I remember just driving up and down every single, and I knew it was on Colfax. And I just drew up every, Clayton, all the alphabetical order, right? And I remember seeing the house on Clayton, and I was like, I think that's it. And I would drive up there if I was in a bad mood or if I was sad. I would just go drive and sit in the front. But I never had the cojones to go inside, right?
Yeah.
But when I got back from the Marine Corps, I finally did. So I got in my dress blues. I had a photo, right, just in case. Because I'm like, ugh, like what if she doesn't answer?
Yeah.
So I took a photo, right? And I was going to hand her the photo in some capacity, right? If I said like, hey, shove it. Here's a photo so you can keep it on your wall and remember me. I don't know. But so I showed up, went up, knocked on the door. Nobody answers. And I'm like standing there and I'm like, oh God. Knock again. Nobody answers. And the next door neighbor comes out and goes, hey, like, can I help you? And I'm obviously in my Marine Corps uniform. So they're like, what the heck? And I said, hey, is Jill here? That was her name. I said, is Jill Woodman here? She goes, oh, yeah. I mean, she lives here, but like, she doesn't come out often. She might not be around. And I was like, can you give this to her? And I handed her the photo and haven't been back since.
Really?
Yep.
Do you ever think about going back?
That's what everybody asks. I have no idea. I don't know. For whatever reason, that was enough. I don't know. That was when I was
closure.
18, dude. Yeah, I guess it was enough. I don't know. I've never, I've driven by a few times, right next
Sure.
to like my wife.
Yeah,
I
of
met
course.
her, drove her by and, told her all this story, but no, I've never
Wow.
gone back up and knocked.
Wow.
So
What would you say to her now?
it's interesting. Katie literally asked me this the other day because we're trying for another kid. She's like, are you going to go like do that before we have another one? And I'm like, God, I really don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now.
Just show up with your army of kids.
And there you go.
Like-
So here's my fear. I don't want her to be the crazy cat lady. I think we build people up in our minds
100%.
to be
Yeah,
this thing that we want them to be, and then when they're not, that's just such a letdown.
Yeah,
And I just
totally.
don't know that. I think that would be harder
Yeah.
than anything. Now, here's the conundrum. She's older. I just realized this a few years ago. Apparently, she's in her late 60s. She had me when she was in her 30s. So two things are going to happen. And my adoptive mom, she's 75. So in the next 10 years, statistically, one of the two of them is going to die. So if it's my adoptive mom, I'm going to have this freak out of like, oh crap, my mom is gone.
Sure.
I need to go rekindle things with my biological mom. If my biological mom dies, then I'm in this place of like, oh crap, I never rekindled. Now,
Yeah.
right? So like, no matter what happens, there's some inevitable cliff that like I'm headed towards that I'm gonna have to figure out. In
I'm
some
gonna
capacity.
I'm gonna give you the best and hardest advice, man.
Yeah.
Pray about it.
Yeah, and I have. No, and I love that advice. It is, and if you find peace in that prayer, there, and I think that is. It's like right now, it's
Yeah.
there's so much that whole situation gives me so much strength in my family right now.
For sure.
Because when we went to go, because so Katie's got the kids that I'm stepdad to, love them, And before we had our own kid, Katie always said, like, well, like, we need to have our own. And I was like, no, dude, like, no, we don't. Like, we got 4 already. Like, we're good.
Yeah, you
We're good.
became a stepdad before you were a dad.
I did. I became a stepdad before I was a dad. Stepdad to 3,
Was
and
it
then
3?
and then her niece we adopted.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, so 4 technically, but her niece we adopted about 5 years ago.
Okay,
which
cool.
is amazing. And so that was huge, right? So it was like her oldest daughter. You know, I've known since I was like 7, or since she was like 7 or 8.
Sure.
Which is so I was a huge impact in her
But
life.
Your
and
venture into
incredible.
fatherhood was
It very untraditional,
Yeah.
right? The 2 boys, you know, I've known them since they were 18 months, 2 years old. But then Micah, right, our 15-year-old, she's who we adopted from Katie's brother. You know, and she was her stories. Like, you want to talk about a story, right?
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
Just that's a whole other podcast in itself. But that for me fulfilled that fatherhood ideology for so long, because it's like, no, I was adopted, and my parents treated me like one of their own and never wavered. Like, I can do that same thing. And Katie she was like, look, let's have one of our own. Let's have one of our own. Finally, I was like, we prayed about it. I remember we were on a little staycation. She was really kind of pressing the subject. And I said, look, give me an hour. I went downstairs and I opened up my Bible and I just prayed. And I came back upstairs and said, all right, pull the goalie. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And literally the next day we were at the doctor's office pulling the goalie, and we were pregnant 6 months later. So that was an incredible piece. But what I've realized since then, and Katie always told me, she said, having your own is different. And when I hear the word different, I hear good or bad, better or worse, right? Having your own kids different. I hear having your own kids better is what I always heard. And I think a lot of parents, step parents, that's how we interpret that
Sure.
word. Different doesn't mean better or worse. Different means different. And I've realized that because having my own has made me love differently. Not better or worse, but differently. And it's opened my capacity to love. And what I mean by that is here's the example that I would give. A lot of parents, I think, when you're raising kids, the middle years, call it 6 to 12, can be tough.
Yeah.
And you see parents get almost like resentful of their kids. Maybe you have to discipline them more than you'd like to. And you just kind of create this world that maybe is not like exactly how you want it to be as a parent.
Sure.
So as a step parent, like, I didn't have that with the 2 older girls. Like, I got involved in their life 7, 8, when they were 7, 8, 9. So none of those like preconceived kind of like negative emotions were there. So I have such a fresh slate with them from that like 10 plus years on. I relate to them so much differently.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like, I'm so much more of like, it's funny because our oldest, she was like, when Katie and I were first dating, she's like, you'd be a cool uncle. It's like, I'm still kind of that, right? Like, I'm the cool uncle, but I am a father figure to her.
Yeah.
And she's a daughter to me, right? But it's like, we miss some of those early years where I think some
Of
parents
course.
get resentful of their kids, or angry or mad, or you just develop this like not healthy relationship
Right.
with them. So it's different. It's not better. It's not worse. It's different.
Yeah.
And that's been an amazing piece to just experience the relationship that I have with the girls, with the boys, and now our youngest, who's 18 months old.
I think that's well said, man. I think that's really good perspective. All right. I know you guys are wondering, how can we keep our cleaning crews engaged and informed, and it doesn't have to feel like a struggle? With Team Engine, you can now automate messages, update teams in real time, and bridge language gaps with their built-in AI-powered translations. Whether it's scheduling, last-minute changes, or sharing critical updates, Team Engine keeps your workforce connected and productive. Say goodbye to miscommunication and hello to smoother operations. Visit teamengine.io to get started today. And I've always thought this about you. You have like this zest for life. You have this energy about you. You've probably always heard that.
I have.
Where, I guess a few questions here. I guess, where does that zest or that energy, where do you think that roots and comes from? And then where throughout the years of you getting out the Marine Corps, you dealing with maybe some of the trauma with your adopted, parents and biological mom, where do you get your self-leadership from?
So it's funny. So the zest for life. So 2 things that I always got told, or that I was told, that I still really remember. Miss Taylor, one of my French teacher, actually in high school, she wrote me a note one day that said, "You make the ordinary extraordinary." I still have that note. Still keep it in my memory box at the house, and that was a really impactful piece because it was like, she was like, "You do, like, everything that's normal, you make extraordinary." And then the other one I always heard I've heard multiple times, like your energy is contagious.
Yeah.
And I think until recently, I kind of took this for granted because I actually feel like I've lost that a little bit in the last 2 years. And I know it's because I'm tired.
Just age.
Dude, so I don't, not like age or just, you just have so much right between my own kids now, the step, like all, like just everybody, like there's just so much like emotional energy that has to go out in different ways. I think that's what I've struggled with most recently is that it's like, how do you continue to be that?
Sure.
And not make it feel forced because it never was forced. It was always authentic.
Yeah.
You know, I always consider myself an optimist.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And people, oh, you're an optimistic person. It's like, no. Like it truly is. Like it's like you're living the same life whether you're optimist or a pessimist.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You're just choosing to look at the world in a brighter fashion than maybe it is, right? In reality, who cares?
Yes.
Right? I'm going to live a happier life because of it. So where does it come from? I wish I truly knew. I've taken a ton of time to think through that because that has been a question I've been asked before. And I think all of those stories that I just shared, I was so fortunate that all of them were framed in a positive. It wasn't, oh, you were adopted. It was, oh my gosh, you, like I said, Miss Westfall, she put a crown on my head.
Yeah.
You were adopted. It was framed in a positive because that's exactly what it was. Like if you truly look at my life and whether I would have stayed with my mom and now, which life would be better? Like it's not even a question, dude.
Totally.
Not even a question. So it's like the gratitude in that is more fuel than you could ever imagine. You know, so it's like I do anytime I drive down Colfax, right? Not even just to go stop by the house and see it, but just driving down Colfax. I picture walking. I could either be driving in my car right now, or I could be walking on the side of the road, like one of the homeless people. Like really,
Totally.
what it could be.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yep.
You know, so I think that's a very hard piece to that puzzle. And that's actually, I left that story off. So you asked my biological sister. So we do still have a relationship. She lives way out in the middle, Crestone, Colorado, way out there. But we talk and we've built a relationship. We don't see each other a ton, maybe once a year, but she actually still has a relationship with my mom.
Really?
Again, yeah. So to bring that full circle. So remember we had different dads, same mom. When I went to foster care, so back to that part of the story too. I should have left this off earlier, but when we went back to my mom, we were supposed to go back to my mom and we were taken. Then what happened is that social services said, all right, what do we do? Her dad stepped in and said, hey, I want to take you back. But I'm not his kid. He didn't want anything to do with me.
Of
so
course.
they actually separated us. And I think that actually is one of the key reasons that my mom and dad said, hey, we'll take him. Because now for the first time in my life, I didn't have my sister either. I not only lost my mom, didn't know my dad, but I also lost my sister. And that day I do remember social services coming to the house, taking my sister, and just sitting in the corner, just like just losing my stuff.
Totally.
Because I knew what was happening. Like I understood that.
Yeah.
I knew what was happening, and that was like, I mean, that was a real.
Of course,
Yeah.
man.
So where was I going with that? The zest for life. All of those things were just framed in such a growth positive way.
I would say that's a good way to put it because I would describe you as a growth mindset individual.
Yeah.
A lot of people have scarcity mindsets.
Yeah.
A lot of people from Inglewood, Colorado have scarcity mindsets. God bless all of them.
No, but it's the environment, right?
it's
The
the-
environment
yeah,
breeds that, dude. It does. Yeah.
And so like I do, how we frame things to our children
Yep.
are so impactful. And I think you're a good poster child of that, that. How did that zest and energy hit in the Marine Corps?
Not well. Not at all. Not. And that's funny you say that because so many people are like, dude, oh, you were Marine? So like, yeah, no, furthest thing from that, dude. Got me in a ton of trouble because with that comes a lot of questions, which in the Marine Corps people only questions, right? The Marine Corps' definition of discipline is instant obedience to orders, right? Because if you're running down, right, the battlefield and, sergeant says, hey, go left, and you say, why? Like, you're dead.
Yeah.
And so that just doesn't fly. So thankfully I was an Intel Marine, which meant I sat behind a computer about 75% of the time. Got to go do some cool stuff and run with some.
Did you ever
pretty cool
deploy?
guys. No. We sat in Washington D.C. for a while. It was
Yeah.
a little cheaper to put us behind a computer
Nice.
out there. So unfortunately, I say unfortunately just because that's part of why you join, right?
Yeah.
If you want to run and gun. But we get to do some pretty cool stuff
Yeah,
though, and some of the
totally.
intelligence we did was pretty incredible.
And it's still
So-
service.
and there you go. That right. And I think that's where now I realize like again, instant obedience to orders, like trying to teach that to my kids, like, hey, you don't always need to ask a question. And that's something I've realized too, is like when somebody says something, just do it.
Yeah.
You don't even know that. Ask later. It's fine. So it's funny because I wish now with a little bit more wisdom and tenure, I could go back and be the young Marine that I was, because I would do things not necessarily differently, but I would do them better.
Yeah.
Do them with more intention. Do them with more purpose in that.
Absolutely, man. Obedience is a funny word. I think for the longest time in my life, obedience was like a word that like kind of like was off-putting to me.
Yeah, I think most people.
And I viewed it as a negative. But my former business partner and co-host, who many on the show know, Angel Sandoval, he's becoming a priest.
Yes, I remember you told me that. Yeah,
last year, I had the chance to see him about 4 months into his priesthood, and I spent a week with him, and he was like the most crazy individual you could imagine, right? And he came back very obedient, almost like he went to boot camp.
I'm sure a version of it. Yeah, dude, very similar. Yeah.
And he talked to me about the word obedience. And he said, man, if you actually look in the Bible, Lord says, take all obedience with love. What's that mean? Hey, if you're asked by your wife to do the dishes, that's not, and let's say you just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Being obedient in that moment is doing it even though you don't want to.
Yeah.
And you can do it pissed off.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all done that. Like, fuck it, I'll do it. And your wife knows, and that energy is contagious negatively.
Yeah.
Or you can do obedience with love.
That's good. Yeah,
and just good. Like, and then he goes, then another non-masculine word that we connect, but which can be very masculine, is in that moment you're choosing to be submissive, but not just submissive to your wife, which is almost weird to say out loud, but submissive to like obedience, the word of God. Yeah. And you're doing it for the greater household good. Yeah. So
what's funny, I this word submissive, we talk about that all the time, and I'm so grateful that Katie embraces that word.
Totally.
Like if you said, like, what's that conversation with you and Lish, right? When you're like the word submissive.
Well, I would say Lish is 100% the most obedient and submissive wife there is, as also being a strong, independent woman. Yeah. Probably similar to Katie.
No, and that's exactly it, right? I think so many, and Katie and I have talked about this at length, and I, again, if you have her on, you want
I would love to.
I think she would talk very eloquently about that, which is to be a strong wife, you have to be submissive, because there is just certain things that she can't do that I can, and vice versa.
Sure.
Right? Like, dude, she, like, just, so May's 18, our daughter, she's 18 months old. Like, Katie's still breastfeeding. Yeah. And like a champ too. Like, doesn't even phase her now. And most moms, they fall off at 6 months. Yeah. If even that, right? They make it 3 weeks. Yeah. Katie's 18 months deep and it doesn't even phase her. If you handed me a baby and said, hey, for the next 18 months,
they're attached to you.
They're attached to you. Oh my God. Not even close, right? But like, we have like a mini farm, and there's certain things where, like, when she's like, hey, can you go bale the hay? You're like, she can do it, but it's certainly not as fast. Sure. And so there's certain things, and that's a poor example, but it's like there's so many different things.
Absolutely right, man.
Yeah, it's like you are, God says, right, you're equally yoked, and you're not, right. An oxen pulls 7,000 pounds by itself. When you yoke two of them together, they don't pull 14. They pull 36,000.
That's exactly right.
And it's not so it's like when you yoke yourselves with somebody that's strong, you become 10x as strong, and that's so important. So the submissive, the obedience, like all of that, it's not be submissive, be obedient. It's let's do this together so we can be stronger.
That's right. Yeah. The one and same yoke is an important piece to add to that.
What's up, Profitable Cleaner listeners? Quick question for you. Are you using 5 to 7 different platforms just to manage the everyday operations of your commercial cleaning company? If so, let us help you consolidate that into one platform. Introducing you uSource. Go to usource.com, book your free demo today, and actually get started on your trial for 60 days. No charge for 60 days, all from time and attendance to reporting, vendor management, operations, sales. It's time you stop using 5 to 7 platforms and consolidate into one. So listeners, don't forget, go to usource.com and start your account today.
So why real estate, man?
The professional side. Yeah. Why real estate? I think, well, so it's funny. So, Marine Corps, then did some college while I was still in the reserves. So transferred to the reserves, was in college, got a job at the gym, right? 24-Hour Fitness. I was going to be the cool guy, right?
I remember that,
New fitness from the Marine Corps, and just amazing. But as I met some really amazing individuals through 24 Hour Fitness, who's still working with to this day. And again, another great example of just like a tight community where there's just tons of people, tons of relationships that all care about something very similar, people, right? But then just fitness brings people together, right? At the end of my tenure at 24 Hour Fitness, some of my colleagues, they had previously started a real estate company called iHomes Colorado. That was the original like OG, amazing. Shout out to all the iHomies. And it was kind of a crazy story because I thought I wanted to be the CEO of 24 Hour Fitness. I loved 24. Everything about it. I mean, I lived, breathed, like I worked 7 days a week. I got into the corporate world, and I mean, I just loved everything about it. It truly was. That's what I told people. I'm going to be the CEO of this company someday. And
did you ever meet the CEO?
No, I never met him. No, I never got to. No, I met like the regional, like the second in command, like RVP at the time. But no, and it was actually, that was on my list. I was like, I want to meet him. It was Mark Masteroff at the time, and some different people that had transitioned in and out. But I ended up actually got an amazing job in the corporate world at 24. I was making six figures. 23, had no idea what to do with myself. It was just incredible, right? Bought my first house. And it was actually kind of crazy. So as I was getting ready to buy my first house, I had reached out to Justin, who was my former colleague at 24 Hour Fitness. He had started a real estate company. So I naturally called him, hey, help me buy a house. Of course, we're going through that buying process. And so this is where like the Marine Corps comes in. So VA loans normally take a little bit longer because of the appraisal, sometimes like 30, 45 days versus like a quick 21-day close.
Yeah.
So we had originally written the contract longer, and our lender called, hey, we can actually do this a little bit quicker. Cool, great. So we closed early. 2 weeks after I closed on the home, I actually got fired from 24. And that was actually the original day we were supposed to close, which is such a God thing because they do a final verification of employment. So they would have called that morning and I wouldn't have had a job. So I wouldn't have closed on the home. And that home has done more for our family than I can imagine, right? Like our mission has always been creating opportunities that last for generations. Like that house simply was that. It helped create, I mean, when we had May last year, we sold it as an investment property, and that paid all of our bills last year so that we could lean in on being parents. And not have to work as hard, right?
Yeah.
But it was just that kind of crazy situation where I was like, damn, all right. This is when Caden lived with me. It was me, Caden, and Scott, two of my best friends from, college, high school. They moved in, right? We were splitting my mortgage 3 ways. So what should have been the most stressful financial time in my life actually was great because I had friends to help pay the mortgage. I had money in my bank account that I'd saved up we didn't need to use to close. And so I actually took 30 days and did nothing. And I called it my 30 days of nothing. And it wasn't nothing, but it was nothing job related. So I wasn't going to apply for a job. I wasn't going to update my resume. I just said, I'm just going to take 30 days and figure out what's next. And it's cool because then over that 30 days, every day what I did was I met with somebody who had made an impact in my life.
Nice.
And that was the goal, right? So I made a list of 30 people and boom, 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 every day, whether it was lunch, a hike, or something. It just get with people that made an impact in my life. Justin was one of them who helped me buy my house, who was a mentor to me at 24 Hour Fitness. And he said, look, at the end of the 30 days, like you've always got a job if you need it. And so there you go. 30 days later, I was like, all right, it just makes sense. If real estate can do that for me,
totally,
I'm curious what it can do for somebody else.
No doubt.
And that was my one motivation. It wasn't the money. I didn't, I always tell clients this. They're like, oh, like, do you love homes? And I'm like, nah, not really. Yeah, I don't sit on Zillow and scroll homes all the time, right? Because it's not what real estate's about. It's like being a police officer, right? You're like, oh, I'm going to go drive 100 miles an hour and like shoot a bunch of people. It's like, no, you're doing paperwork in your car.
Yeah.
Real estate's the same way. You're not showing all these fancy, beautiful homes. You're writing contracts. So you can't love real estate because you love homes because like you don't do that very much.
Sure.
So it had to be something different for me. And it was that. It was, all right, if real estate can give me that opportunity, like what can this go do for other families?
No doubt.
And 500 deals later, I've seen so many families, just the life that's breathed into them through a house.
1000%, man. It's kind of funny. There's like this anti-home buying narrative out there right now.
Bit, yeah.
And
funny enough.
I think it's like the flat earth argument to me. If I'm just being honest with you, man. Real estate has created more generational wealth and millionaires than any other industry in the history of the world.
Yeah. Well, I love like your story with Mr. Whipple.
Yeah.
Right? My math teacher in high school, you bought his townhome.
That's right.
Investment property, right? Like just a small random
thanks,
thing.
Matt, for selling me a fucking cash cow, brother. Yeah.
I'll
so
send that to him.
yeah, please do. No, yeah, totally, dude. Real estate changed my life. And I think a lot of it is, the best investment on earth is earth.
Yeah, dirt by dirt, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously. And my grandfather, who's 92, had a successful real estate career. Although that wasn't his career, he just did it. He was a high earner and had a real estate as part of his portfolio. He said, every house I ever bought, I wish I never sold. And which is always hindsight. But when he looks at the course of his life and how well it's been set up, it's all really thanks to real estate.
Yeah.
Like, even regardless of how much money he made in his career.
Yeah.
It was really real estate.
No, you see a ton of these guys. Like, I've got a few buddies that they're in like med sales, right?
Yeah.
They're making $500,000-$600,000 a year selling medical
good
equipment.
money.
Dude, that's not their primary. That's not their end goal.
Yeah.
Their end goal is real estate.
Yeah.
All of them are dumping money into, our business partner on the fix and flip we're doing right now.
Totally.
That's what he's doing.
Totally.
And it's like, so, because he knows, like, you can't do that forever.
Yep.
So,
totally, man.
yeah.
Well, you actually have, I feel like we need a part 2 of this conversation, man. And I would love to have your wife, Katie, on to hear her testimony and story. Just the other side of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Probably the better half of it.
Dude, it absolutely is, right? Like, I've been forged by her, right? Because again, part of like that story is like I ended up being an only child that was adopted. So there's a lot of there's some, I shared the goods, but like I said, throwing chairs and angry stuff.
Yeah.
Like, there's all sorts of stuff there.
You got something cool though, man. You're doing going back to real estate with a purpose. You're doing something cool with Trailhead Community. We've talked a lot about Trailhead Community on the show.
Yep.
That's a unique real estate venture, man. Talk to me about that.
It is. Yeah. It's a little bit more intimidating, I think, than I initially, right? I was like, this is going to be great. We're going to do it. And not intimidating in a bad way,
Sure.
but just like.
It's a challenge.
Well, it's a challenge. And like when you really think through like just the structure of how real estate works. So when you go to sell a house, the goal is actually opposite of what a lot of like product sales are, right? Typically, if you create a product, any successful business owner is going to say, find your niche and sell it to that niche. That's it.
Yep.
You don't need as million people to buy that. You need who's your 10,000, who's your 1,000, right? Real estate's the opposite. You want maximum exposure to maximum people that you can. The more people that walk in that front door, boom, you're going to get it, right? The ones that struggle are the condos, the 1 bed, 1 bath that only 10 people are willing to buy.
Yep.
Trailhead is that, right? It's a very unique niche that not every person is going to want and look at. And so it's been a really interesting shift in just my thought process in real estate. It's like, how do we go successfully sell these? And it's going back to that, like my original mission statement though, which was creating opportunities that will last for generations. Because it literally is that. It's these families that have a loved one that has a developmental disability that are thinking about the future. Like, if I'm not here, what does that look like for my loved one? And I think that's where we've really narrowed down our focus of like, how do we go, advertise these and sell these to the community, is getting people to that is what real estate is. It's not a beautiful house, right? It's a place where you can have a loved one, be whether it's yourself or your family, that when you're gone is still there for them. That's what this is.
That's such a good mission statement too. And it's kind of funny that was your mission statement. And it's kind of gone throughout your career.
That's been the central, like I said, from the day I started, dude, that was what I wrote down.
Yeah.
And it's been our team mission when Katie and I were doing real estate solo. Now that we've started our new team, like that has stayed true and true.
Absolutely, man. I'd like to end this show in a unique way, man. That's your camera you can look into.
Okay.
What message would you have for Kathy or Dana?
Oh, that's different than I thought you were going to ask. I knew you were going to ask something along those lines. What message?
You can speak to them right there in that camera, man. The floor is yours.
What message for Dana and Kathy, aka mom and dad? Just thank you. That's all I would say. Thank you.
Yeah. I had the chance to meet your dad once. Did you know that?
Yeah. That probably was a soccer game. I think we were moving into the Wash Park house.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I remember him giving you shit about carrying stuff.
Yeah,
it was lighthearted and fun.
No, and that's what's so amazing. Like I said, there's so many things that I could. So Katie and I were talking about this. Be better loving out loud.
Yeah.
To the kids, love out loud. My parents didn't love out loud. So it's always tough, right? So like communicating to them, like, hey, what would I say to you? It's like, gosh, like that's just not how our family is.
Yeah.
We don't love out loud, but that's okay because in hindsight, now, all those things that I talked about, if they didn't love me, they wouldn't have done that.
No doubt.
So,
It's just different.
that's why I said thank you is all I need to say. That's
Yeah.
it.
Well, cool, man. I really appreciate you as a person, brother.
Yeah. Didn't know
So
I was
much
gonna cry 3 different times.
so much more we could do, man. But until next time, man, we'll do a part 2. Thank
Awesome.
you.